You're listening to the Epic Stories podcast, presented by Earlham College. Here's your hosts, Tanaka and Carlton.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Epic Story podcast. My name is Tanaka.
My name is Carlton.
And our guest for today is Sylvan. So to start with, can you tell us where you're from and how you ended up coming to Earlham?
I am born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm actually a legacy for Earlham. So my parents went here, grandfather, aunt, uncle, cousin. So it was fed to me a bit as a child, and then I toured here when I was a sophomore in high school, and it was just what I wanted to do.
Okay,
Sounds cool.
And what's your major?
I'm an environmental sustainability major.
Oh, okay. So does that mean you're involved with CEL, Center for Environmental Leadership?
At the moment, the most I'm involved with that is being a TA for the
Okay.
NSU 151 classes. But in the past, I worked with the Free Store and the composting group.
Okay.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm just curious. Maybe you can tell us a bit more of like the free store when you're like working there, or also like more of like your role as a teaching assistant, or how does that go?
Yeah, at the Free Store, so it's basically like a free thrift store. So we get lots of donations from students, from faculty. I think it's a really cool resource. There's just a lot of like old clothing that goes into landfills, and especially with how fast fashion is working now,
Yeah.
like we wind up with clothes that fall apart so easily, and you
Yeah.
can put them in the free store even just for like getting to reuse fabric. And it's totally free. You can come and take stuff, and you can just return it if it doesn't work for you. So that's really cool, and it's also a good opportunity to work with like some textile skills.
So does this only like apply with clothing, or even if it's like some digital devices that you no longer want to use as well?
I haven't seen like phones and stuff in there, but you can put like old headphones. I've seen charging cords, calculators and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of like whatever you can imagine that can be like safely reused.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. What about like couches and stuff?
Ooh, I haven't seen couches. I have seen those kind of like cheap folding couches that you
Okay.
like some folks get for like their first year at college, but
Okay.
yeah, stuff like that.
And then you also mentioned about being a teaching assistant. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, I'm a teaching assistant right now for the NSU 151 class. So a lot of that work is grading and just kind of like supplementing information if Jamie Kuhn, the professor, is feeling a little overwhelmed. But right now I'm helping a group with a biodiversity monitoring project.
Yeah.
So we've walked way back campus to an area that like I never went to before I did this project my sophomore year. And it's just this old boggy wetland. And we just put a bunch of cameras up to try and capture wildlife, species richness and abundance. And the project actually started as a means to try and figure out if there were still beavers back campus. So
Yeah.
you put 2 cameras upstream and downstream of an old beaver dam. And we've actually caught beavers on camera this time,
That's pretty cool.
which is really cool. But this year we're comparing a naturally occurring wetland to the human-made ponds that are closer to the baseball fields.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the class? What's the class called?
So there's NSU 141 and NSU 151, and they're like sister classes. And NSU 141 is like environment, society, and sustainability, and NSU 151, which I'm TAing, is environment, science, and sustainability.
Okay.
I think.
Sounds cool. So have you also been involved with like other Epic centers, or received some form of like career coaching to plan about your career?
So in order to get my like field research experience, which is a requirement for the environmental sustainability major, I met up with Corey Kundert to organize getting an internship in town. And I actually got really lucky. He has a lot of connections, and I was like really late to planning this. So I did a internship with the floral division of the Parks Department in Richmond last summer. And I didn't even start figuring that out until like late March, early April. And I started that in like the middle of May. So Corey was able to like set that up for me like really, really rapidly, which was cool. And it was a good option for me.
That's really cool. Can you tell us a bit more about like your internship, what you're doing exactly, and how it went?
Yeah. It was so it's seasonal work, so like throughout the summer, the activities shifted. But it's basically a gardening job. And then like lots of like managing trails in like surrounding like nature reserves and parks and stuff. Taking out invasive species like honeysuckle, I think autumn olive, Bradford pear. So in the beginning, we're planting a lot of stuff, and then towards the middle and the end, we're just kind of maintaining what we've planted and then removing lots of invasives.
Okay.
Sounds good. So this was like your internship in your junior year summer.
Yeah, the summer after my junior year.
Okay, and then did you do any other internships before that, or this was your first one?
Not an internship like outside of Earlham, but I did do summer collaborative research with Jamie Kuhn and Wendy Torrey between my freshman and sophomore year.
Maybe you can elaborate on your research a bit more.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get a little jargony and sciencey here.
That's fine.
But I'm happy to explain as needed.
All right.
So we work in the Grand River grasslands in southern Iowa and northern Missouri. And we research impacts on like the reproductive success of native grassland birds. And this is like a really, really long-term like data set and research project. It started, I think, in 2014. So there's over 10 years of data. And it's something that Jamie Kuhn actually started doing when she was in grad school. And then she just brought the project here. And her and like she became good friends with Wendy Torrey and told her about research and asked basically like, can we just start it up here? Can we bring students into this? And Wendy was super into it. So they started doing that in 2020. And as the project changes over time, there's like a different focus for each summer that we're collecting more data. So the summer that I did it, we were looking at the impacts of regenerative grazing practices on the reproductive success of grassland birds. And regenerative grazing practices, so like, I mean, we put cattle out in pastures to eat grass and graze. And generally, the way that cattle are stocked on grasslands can be pretty bad for the environment. It tends to facilitate more like invasive grasses. So there's tall fescue, which is Jamie's nemesis grass, and it's from Europe. And it was brought here initially during the Dust Bowl to prevent erosion. And short term it does, just because it grows so rapidly and so aggressively. But in the long term, their root systems are really only as deep as they grow tall. So they really don't support the soil at all, and they also just suck lots of nutrients out of it, which is why all the soil we have here is rich in clay, because it doesn't fix nitrogen. And that grass kind of like homogeneous ecosystem is really bad for the native grassland birds that literally nest in the grass on the ground for like a multitude of reasons. But that's what I'll say about that. And then where the regenerative grazing practices comes in is you can graze cattle selectively on these grassland sites in different amounts at different times of the seasons. So we're investigating 3 different types. There's ungrazed, where there's no cattle on the sites at all. There's season-long stocking, which is about what we typically do, where you have just a moderate amount of cattle all season from May to August. And then there's intensive early stocking, which is kind of our experiment, where you have double-stocked cattle for just the first half of the season. So for us, that's all of June, because we're only out for June and July. But that's really like May to June that they're out there. And what we're trying to figure out there is how that's going to affect invasive grasses. So the invasive grasses we have here are cool season grasses, so they're most productive in the cooler part of the summer, which is May and June. So when you double stock cattle, typically this grass is really responsive to disturbance, and they actually like it a lot. But when you double stock cattle, you have really intense herbivory that actually like really knocks them out in their most productive time. And then you take the cattle off at the beginning of July, and all of our warm season native grasses that actually grow here, are supposed to grow here and are good for the birds, there's more space for them to fill in after you take the cattle off. So that's kind of what we're looking at there and how that affects the reproductive success of the grassland birds.
Also, you guys are the ones actually putting the cattle in the grasslands?
So we are not physically putting them out there. We work with a bunch of like cattle ranchers and with the DNR out there too. So basically, year after year, we do all of our data analysis and we give them our results, and then they do with that what they will. But we've been working with them long enough that they kind of just do what we ask them to.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That's really fascinating. You know, like every time when I go out there, I don't really think of like all of these processes are happening. I just feel like they happen naturally, but then it's really cool that you understand all of the type of grasses and everything.
Yeah. It's stuff I really never would have thought of without doing it. Like, I never thought that there were different species of grass, like there's different species of trees and different species of animals, but it's really fascinating. I like it a lot.
Nice. So I'm just like wondering, how was the team like? Was it like only a few students versus Jamie or how was the team?
So it's Jamie and Wendy, the two faculty supervisors, and then when I went out, the amount of students varies year to year. When I went out, it was me and then 3 other students, Hannah Gershon, Jennifer Shamel, and Nathan Peck. But in years before that, they've had, I think, up to 6 students, and then the year after that, they only had 3. This year, I think they're putting out 5 students, and then I'm also actually going out again in July, just for funsies.
That's really nice.
That's nice that you, even after graduating, you can still be connected.
Yeah.
And go out in that way.
They have like a whole test fund basically for this, and they've recently found out that they can like bring someone who's graduated just for fun, and I won't be getting paid the same as the students, but I will be getting paid somewhat, which is awesome.
Okay.
That's really
You
nice.
said that you did the research with Jamie Kuhn in the summer of your freshman year. So when you came in, did you already know what your major was going to be?
I knew I was leaning into science, but I didn't have like a big focus on that yet. I had initially thought about double majoring in biology and art. And then I talked to some friends and they were like, man, that sounds like a lot of work. And later I was glad I didn't do that because that's what Nathan Peck did. And he was like, man, this is a lot of work. But that summer I kind of like just by proxy of like living in a house with students and professors, they were like, you really sound like you should major in environmental sustainability. And you also like, I bet you could just like, I bet you're like already on the right track from what you're taking already and what you're interested in.
Yeah.
And that just kind of wound up working out.
Okay.
I'll be interested to know, like, so you were majoring in environmental sustainability. Do you feel like there were like resources within your major, or how was it like throughout your 3 years for now your senior?
You say resources.
Resources within the major, like let's say you want to get some form of hands-on, like practical experiments within, or like within, like on campus, or do you get the question, or it's a bit?
I think so.
Like I can give you an example.
Yeah.
For example, I'm a computer science major, and then here they have like what they call the applied groups. So I can go there and then I work for the web development team. So are there like some form of resources within those lines in the environmental sustainability major, or?
I think yes. I'd say like the biggest resources that we have are the professors. Like I don't think I would have had the same experiences here and like gotten to go out and do the things I do without like Jamie and Wendy specifically. They just care more about like students and our careers than like most professors I've ever interacted with. They've both like invested kind of a ridiculous amount of time in like just the idea of my success. So I'd say like them and their connections and what they're willing to do for students and the time they put in is like the biggest resource I've had.
That sounds good. So I think maybe we can move on to the most asked question.
Cool.
What did you use your EPIC?
I used my EPIC for the internship I did last summer. So doing, I was a like basically a seasonal position working with the floral division of the Parks Department. So working with Laura Carnes, who actually graduated from here, I think in the 2010s, and Brandon Paninsky, and then actually a couple of other folks who have graduated from Earlham, who were seniors when I was a freshman.
Okay.
So the one where I was like gardening and stuff like that.
Okay. How did you use your Epic while working with the floral department? Like, did it help you with, I don't know, like accommodation and stuff like that, or how did you work that out?
So I wound up living in Campus Village that summer. So it went to my housing costs. And then something that was awesome that summer is that housing was discounted by half. So rather than $20 a night, it was $10 a night. So I only spent $800 for, I think, the like 2.5 months I was living in Richmond over the summer. And then the rest of that I got to use for food and gas, stuff like that. Like I wound up having enough money that I could like go out and visit my partner, who was also doing her Epic internship out in Cleveland. So
Nice.
yeah, so it went to housing, food, and gas and stuff.
Do you feel like there was like you got proper guidance on how you can use the funds, like when it comes to planning? Like did the career coaches provide you with some form of maybe what you could possibly, what other people have done, or did you had to figure out this by yourself, or how was it like?
It was definitely Corey like really saved me doing
So
this.
it's Corey.
Yeah, Corey did a lot. I remember like okay, there's all these docs you have to do. You have to fill in all this information, blah blah blah. And I don't know why, but it made no sense to me. I didn't understand what I was supposed to do, and I like emailed Corey, and I was just like, I don't really understand what I'm supposed to put here. Can you like, do you just have an idea? And he was like, let's have a meeting. And so we went and had a meeting, and he literally just walked through every single document with me, just asked me each question, and then like translated it into what I was gonna understand best. And we just like walked through every single document in the span of like half an hour and got all of it done. So every aspect that I didn't understand, Corey supported and like helped me finish out.
Nice. Would you say you've had a similar experience with other professors at Earlham in terms of how much you've been supported by them?
Yeah, definitely. Again, Jamie and Wendy. When I was doing my like major and minor declaration stuff, I didn't know where to get any of that paperwork. There was also some issue where like the link that I had to get from just like the Earlham website was just straight up broken. So like Jamie got all of those resources for me, and then like there's been an issue this past year or so where like the registrar is just like kind of overloaded with information. So we just like walked it over and got all of that done rather than emailing them because things were just getting lost in emails. But yeah, every point where I've had to do any kind of paperwork like that and like haven't had the resources to get it, haven't had the resources to actually understand what it's asking, Jamie and Wendy have been really helpful in doing that.
Okay, that's nice.
That's really nice. I think earlier on you mentioned that living in a house helped you to connect with people, which also helped you like to know about the internship opportunities and stuff. I think it would be nice if you just highlight your experiences with like engaging with other students who live like in the same house as you, or like any other activities that you do here on campus.
I feel like it depends a lot on who exactly is living in your house and the kinds of communities that they're like branched out into. I know a lot of folks in my house tend to be pretty introverted, and like I've definitely become much more of a homebody in the last 3 years. But like I think like folks in my house, like no one in my house is as like lives in CST the way I do.
Okay.
So like I bring science into the house the way that like no one else really does, but then they all bring like humanities and sociology and anthropology into the house and make me think about things I wouldn't. And then they also just like people have different groups of friends. And like we all like each other a lot, but they tend to like bring in different groups that have a lot of different perspectives and different ideas. And I think that's been a really cool resource to try and like just open your mind to new things around you.
That's really nice. I'm just going to do like a quick follow-up question. So do you also feel like there are other opportunities that were offered on campus which allowed you to connect with other students who have the same, maybe the same mindset or the same majors as yours?
Other opportunities on campus?
Yeah.
I think there are. I think most of where I've made those connections have been in classes.
In class, okay.
Yeah. Like a lot of the classes I've taken in Ensu and Bio have been really cool opportunities for that, especially ones where you can go out in the field and do some kind of like physical research project. So getting to do that in like animal behavior. I didn't have a lot of friends who were into birding, who wanted to like actually watch something like that and like see what we can do and how we can interact with the environment. So having like a planned, structured project like that and getting to explore that interest with other people was a cool opportunity. And so I've got friends now who I like go birding with like some regularity, who I like didn't even know they liked birding before that, and we've got like little group chats where we like.
That's really nice.
There was a black-crowned night heron seen back campus like 2 days ago. I didn't even know that they were in this state. So
That's cool.
yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you had a minor. Is that in ceramics or?
Oh, I wish. So I have a biology minor,
Okay.
and I got that by accident. I completed that by the end of my sophomore year, and I had just switched being advised from Ryan Murphy to Jamie Kuhn. And Jamie was just like looking through all my degree works, and they were like, so we're declaring your NT major, and then also you have completed a biology minor, so we're just going to declare that. And then it also turned out I think I actually need to set up a portfolio for this, but I also have an applied minor in art, nature, and conservation.
Okay.
And I am exactly one art history class away from an art minor, but I don't like art history, so I'm going to let that go.
Okay. Wow. So you have like over the course of your 4 years, you've almost been involved in like 3 minors, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, so maybe do you have any advice to people who are potentially also interested in like environmental sustainability on how they can navigate, let's say maybe these are prospective students or first year students who are also trying to follow the same path as just because you have done a lot of cool stuff?
Yeah, I think I would really like if you're taking any of the intro like NSU classes, I would super recommend NSU 151. I feel like NSU 141 touches a lot more on society and how that plays into the environment. I feel like NSU 151 incorporates like society and the environment pretty equally, and I thought that that class opened me a little more to different realms of environmental sustainability. So I would really recommend that class, and especially as someone who like fell in love with fieldwork really early, I think that that is something that people should like get into more. I think like I never thought I would be interested in that. I mean, before coming to Earlham, I like basically didn't go outside by choice. And then I got here and I took EcoBio, which is another one I'd really recommend, and wound up for our research project studying paleoecology and looking at like species richness and abundance of different fossils in just like the Whitewater River area. And like I never thought I'd want to do that. And just having the opportunity to do it like really opened my eyes and made me so much more interested in stuff like that. So, yeah.
It's really nice.
So would you say that Alham's almost like freedom to be able to try out a number of different things has kind of led you to discover that, you know, you did EcoBio and you're like, oh, I actually really enjoy this and I want to continue, you know, doing these kinds of things?
I definitely, yes. I think, like, I don't know any other school that has this much room for, like, taking electives. Like, my sister just started college, and she, like, has her 4-year plan already. I didn't have a 4-year plan until my sophomore year, and that didn't really, like, screw me over in any way. Like, that wasn't a problem for me.
Yeah.
So having the freedom to do that gave me a much better opportunity to, like, actually explore and even like if I wasn't necessarily like academically interested in a specific class, I could still take it just for funsies. Like I took erotic and poetry my freshman year. That had nothing to do with what I'm doing now. Um, I really just took it because it sounded cool, and it turned out to be like fascinating. Like the class content, it was super weird. Max Paul teaches some really interesting classes, and he's teaching it again in the fall.
Yeah, I've actually seen like some flyers about it around campus.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I would definitely recommend taking it, but just the amount of space that we have for electives gives opportunities for like a lot of interests.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. I'm in the process of trying to set up my 4-year plan, and I've been trying to organize like which classes I'll take each semester. So I see that I want to take some like music classes, like one music class, some French classes as well, and so I think it's a really good thing that I'm able to like try out all these different things, even though they aren't necessarily in the path that I want to take.
What kind of music classes are you wanting to take?
I just want to take, I think it's music 271 or 272. It's making music with computers.
My partner took that, and then she
Really?
TA'd it. She liked it a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah, I'm a computer science major as well, and I'm doing applied mind and digital arts.
Oh, cool.
So that music 272 would like fulfill one of those
Nice.
for the digital arts.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the software is really strange
Mm-hmm.
and interesting to figure out. Like, my partner, she before getting into digital music, did lots of piano, was tinkering around on a guitar, has an electric guitar, and then after figuring out the digital music aspect, was able to just plug all those things into her computer, and it's just like a massive expansive instrument that
Yeah.
I don't understand at all, but it seems to really make sense to her in a way that like I don't, but it's really cool.
So is she able to like? Is she making like music or like stuff like that?
Yeah, she like sends me little audio files
That's really
sometimes.
cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's I don't understand genres very well. It's like very techno and noisecore type stuff. She likes to like sample audio from like old movies or like videos from protests and stuff. Like she involves a lot of like little sound bites that are like political and stuff like that. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's cool.
I think when you get into like that the space of being able to mess with sound in that way, then you get a really good understanding of like the different genres of not just music but like sound
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really nice. Maybe I was supposed to ask this a bit earlier, but then were you involved in any clubs throughout your time here? Or?
Somewhat. My partner actually, I'm just gonna say her name is Dove because saying my partner gets weird after a little bit. Dove actually, so she started the Trans Student Union on campus, and I attend. I am like on the convener list, but I don't actually convene it. My name just got put down at some point. But I've not been involved in like the leadership aspect of
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Okay. So maybe I'm like asking a clarifying question.
Yeah.
About the clubs thing. So you're saying that like besides the Trans Student Union, you have not necessarily been too involved in clubs on campus?
Right. I've attended events throughout the 4 years, but not with like a specific commitment or regularity. I just go as they happen sometimes, and depending on like the kind of time I have.
Yeah.
I more often than not have wound up with pretty overloaded semesters with like labs 4 out of 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So that creates a good amount of burnout
Yeah.
and a good amount of time that I would like to have some downtime. So I don't wind up with a lot of time for clubs, to be honest.
I can definitely imagine that, like environmental sustainability, all these like biolabs and stuff.
Yeah.
Oof, I have some friends who are doing like bio as well and some like chemistry, And they just be talking about the labs, like 3-4 hour labs, 4-5 days a week.
It's intense.
Insane.
Yeah, I can't imagine having labs with that frequency that are like wet labs. Specifically, like I took CGI, cells, genes, and inheritance, my freshman year. Oh, that's why I'm not a biology major.
And freshman year as well.
Yeah, that was an evil class for me. I just don't have the brain for that. It's just too micro.
Yeah.
But the kind of labs that I do now are so fun. Like we, more often than not for restoration ecology, we just go in the woods and we just walk around and we talk about different restoration practices. We, just on Monday, we went and met some guy, his name's Dick. He lives in like somewhere out in Richmond. And he just walked us throughout his whole property where he's removed invasive honeysuckle over the course of 60 years.
Oh, wow.
And has like cleared it out. And I have never seen a forested area that looks like this, where there is literally no shrubs or brush. It's all, there are some invasive species. There's lots of grape hyacinth, but there's also tons and tons of like beautiful spring ephemeral flowers. Like I've never seen a forest like that in this area, just because there's so much invasive like shrubby plants around. But we just get to explore. It's so cool.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I know you've talked about invasive species quite a bit, and it sounds like there are a lot of invasive species in like maybe Richmond and the surrounding areas. So what happens when those species are removed? Like I'm guessing if you're removing so much of these shrubs, there's gonna be like a bunch of shrubs. Like, you know, are they, I don't know, do they like reuse them for something? Do they just like ban them or?
So it depends. It depends species to species. The same way that like how you remove them depends species to species. Like you can't use herbicide the same way for all plants because they just respond differently.
Yeah.
So for something like honeysuckle, like you can't really compost it necessarily. A lot of invasive plants, they still carry their seeds even if you let them like dry out in the sun. And if you don't let them dry out and you just kind of leave them next to the hole you pulled them out of, they can just reroot. So honeysuckle, like as it's removed back campus, we like put it out in open pathways where it's already like there's lots of foot traffic, so things don't really grow there.
Yeah.
So it's most of it is that it's important to make sure as you take it out, you leave it somewhere to like dehydrate and desiccate.
Yeah.
So it just dies. It has no resources.
Yeah.
But as for like some people burn it, yeah, you can use it for like in campfires and stuff. But it's less functional as like a compost just because like they carry so many seeds and they just sprout so effectively. And like a lot of invasive species really love like physical disturbance, so like foot traffic or just like animals bumping into them, just physical trauma.
It helps them to
Yeah.
reproduce even faster.
Yeah, so all of the movement around them facilitates their seeds dispersing, so they can move place to place.
Wow, that's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say this was really nice. So since you're a senior, do you have any last sentence you want to share, which highlights maybe your journey here at Earlham or anything you just want to share with the people watching?
I think just don't put too much pressure on it. I know a lot of people here who have started in one major, found out 3 years in that it wasn't exactly right for them, and switched to what was actually their passion in their last year.
Yeah.
And that has like worked out really well for them. I think like the kind of support that we can get at this school is really not like anything I've heard about in lots of other places, and just take advantage of that. Like there are so many people here who like really care about us as students. Like we're not numbers here in a lot of cases. Like people know you and people like care about your success. So take advantage of that as much as you can and use your Epic money.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. This is Epic Stories Podcast, and you can find us everywhere that you listen to your podcasts. See you next time.